This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast. And today is another one of our technical episodes. And in this episode, we are looking at one of the stories of one of our founders. And in this episode, we want to get a bit of a background on their stories and why they're doing what they're doing. And today I'm here and joined by my co-founder, Mr. Philip Bygrave.
Hi, Philip. There you go. Sunday name. All right. Thanks very much. Yeah, looking forward to this, actually. Yeah, nervous about it though at the same time. But ask away, I guess. Go right ahead.
There's no reason to be nervous. Come on. So just to kick it off then. So just tell me a bit about your life before getting into property development, basically. What you did and what were some of the challenges you faced in your day to day, and maybe what did you want to change in your life?
Yeah, it's a good place to start. We have already done an interview which discusses like my life and stuff like that too. Back in the day and stuff. But so before property, I was in the corporate world. So I was at the time managing director of a recruiting based organization. So it was the fundamental service that they offered was recruitment services. I'd done that since 2003. I think I joined that industry.
So a decent amount of time.
So and I'd started then as a trainee recruiter, and it was recruiting structural engineers on contract in Yorkshire. That was very niche. And then I ended up, managing director of an organization. And I was actually going through to buy it it was an MBO.
Yeah,
that's why I was managing a buyout. That's what I joined to do. And prior to that, I'd been board director and junior board director of high growth, very aggressive sales organizations within the energy industry. It was fun, but my job was like, if you think about a team of salesmen, I was the head salesman. So if you got 400 staff and 320 of them are salespeople, my job was to lead the corporate sales. So I was the head of that area or that region or that company from a sales perspective. So I would do all the big ticket sales, the ones that had a little bit longer lead time. So I hadn't really been on the day-to-day recruiting tools for about 8 years or 9 years, even maybe 10 years actually, in that corporate side. So VC led businesses as well with venture capital, for those that don't know what VC means. Going through buyout phases and VC rounds and things like that. So there was a lot of pressure in that. So what I wanted to change was, so I talked about it in another space, and those that know me well know that obviously I'm a happily married man. My life is surrounding my family, and my wife, affectionately known as Nick Nack. Nick has something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a extreme hypermobility is the way to describe it. So the way to describe it, quicker way to describe it is the kid at school who said they had double joints. There's no such thing. What you have is an ability to go beyond the point that you
hypermobility.
Beyond the point that you should be able to go to. A lot of prima ballerinas and higher level gymnasts have this. It can be a benefit. Nick is not either of those things. She does not have the physical commitment to that type of an environment. So for when you're at school, it's fun, and as an adult, it's not so fun. So she's had dislocations in the 30s. And in numerous. And she'd had to have major knee surgeries, and I think I was over in Africa for work, and she'd had this and I'd already been thinking about it's getting worse.
So you're working away a lot, man. You're away from home.
Yeah, my job was international, so we had 50 offices around the world, and if you think about where energy projects are,
odd locations.
And some nice and some not so nice. And she dislocated her hip, and she rang me. She's on the stairs in lots of pain, and the ambulance was over 3 hours, and I was just stuck on the phone. I was like,
a long way away.
Can't do this anymore. It was really then. So I'd moved more to a more local business to buy it.
Yeah.
So it was a locally servicing business, so I didn't have to do organization as well. And during that time, I didn't enjoy it anymore. I'd lost my love for it. There was a bit of the high growth bit that I loved, and this company was a bit low growth. And I was joining it to buy it, and I looked under the hood, and there's a few things I was like, you know what, I think I might have just lost my love for this industry. And I'd been looking at, I'd read the Property Magic by Simon Zucci in 2015, and like the big action taker, I'd done nothing for 4 years, and so I bought my first single let property, put a load of money into that, and realized that actually that's really low returning as a thing. So I just felt like I had an opportunity to do something in property, and so COVID hits. The MBO is no longer going ahead because they're gonna have to borrow money to survive. So I can't buy it anymore, and it was a mutual agreement decision. That it wasn't the right thing for me to continue. So almost making myself obsolete in that business was an interesting time. So I left with a little bit of buyout money and so on and so forth. So I just thought, what, I'm going to do something different. Property was the one.
Property was the one, and you could spend more time locally at home, couldn't you? So you could get that sort of flexibility and freedom.
It's entrepreneurialism, isn't it? It's in my hands. You
want to be in control of it rather than
and I didn't want to be in control just of because I could have just gone into recruit, and my initial plan was just to set up a small boutique niche recruiting business, but I think I'd lost my love for it, and I think after 20 years or whatever, that was
time for change.
Probably true. And I didn't want to do it myself either, because I was like, I'm going to do something different. And property had always spoke to me because it's the kind of thing that you can get dual return on. You can get return on money, but you can also get return intrinsically as well, because it's something that you're providing to the world. From a legacy point of view, and it really spoke to my core values, really.
No, great. So then you've got into property, and then specifically, why did you want to get into, say, like small scale property development that we do a lot of now? And then further to that, what are some of the blockers and challenges that faced you early doors in that sort of journey?
I did two things, right? So one of them didn't go so well, which was I didn't really know what I wanted to do and like a lot of people, I didn't know what my strategy was,
or what your focus was,
or what my focus was going to be. And I got into the rent to rent world and the development world almost simultaneously. So I was doing two things, and one of those didn't work out. So the rent to rent world is no longer a part of my, life, if you like. And it was quite acrimoniously that didn't happen due to a third party committing a fraud in the supply chain on that rent to rent. So it was quite a rude introduction into the property world. Actually, you've got
quite a major.
You've got to be careful. You've got to be careful, right? What you're doing within the property space. But the development part was, it was more. Even though it feels more risky, you are in control more of your destiny, because it's four walls and a roof. Ultimately, you can see it, feel it, touch it, taste it if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, but you can. So
directly oversee the whole aspect of it.
And even though there might be surprises, as long as you've planned in for those things, generally you're going to be okay. And I just felt like the adding value part of that was really important. Buy something, add value, realize value. Because the one thing I learned from my single experience was I didn't add any value. I added a bit because I negotiated a good deal, which you'd expect, sales guy at the end of the day. So it went up in, I got some value on day one, but I didn't do anything to it to add value again.
You can get the double whammy in development. It's a good point, isn't it? Because you get a good deal up front below the market. And then third to that, you're adding value in numerous ways with the development works. So I took the tools I was learning at the time and I applied them to the real world. So if you think about the first deal we did, how good a deal was that? That's an absolute cracker,
so we got the deal.
Still one of our best performing, portfolio properties.
So we got the deal. It was going to be 11 income streams, and I was like, I'd spotted this deal. I was like, this is a deal, and I was procrastinating quite a lot, for lots of reasons, but mainly because it was going to be 11 income streams, and I'd never done a development project before. So I think you can ask me a question as to why we teamed up in a minute. And I was like, well, that's because that's the reason. And I was like, well, this is a belter of a deal, right? And the challenges were I didn't know enough about it. At the time I was still fledgling. I'd only done one buy to let. I was learning. I was in the middle of a learning of a course, and they were teaching about strategy, but not technical theory, not technical. Which is a lot of the training platforms. they teach you what to do, not how to do.
Yeah, it's not the physical day-to-day of, especially on a development side, is it?
Yeah, even the coaching wasn't, they couldn't help me with the day-to-day on the getting a project off the ground, especially one of this size, if you like. So that was good. That was my key challenge. It was a bit of a blocker. I wanted to go with this big project. And that was, that was my first first proper development.
Yeah. So some of the, what were like, because is that the challenge you're facing, was more that you just didn't have the experience, or you didn't know how to progress it and things like that with those?
Yeah, I was really comfortable with, I knew I could do deals.
Yeah.
Because ultimately I could see them.
Yeah.
I've always had a natural affinity for that as well. It's like, if there's anything that can make money, I can find a way to make it money, make that work. I can see it. I'm a creator, which is the Genius U wealth dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So I can see the journey. I can see from start to finish how it would work. But the middle bit, I could see how I could find tenants. Yeah. And I could see how I could do the deal. That middle bit scared the bejesus out of me, if I'm honest. I didn't know what I needed to do. And
operationally, what was required.
I was thinking I'm going to have to borrow money. I'm going to have to do a bridging loan. I'm going to have to do I had some money, and I had some private people who actually, if you remember, we had some private investors on the project as well. Yeah. So we could generate all of this interest in helping us to achieve this goal. But I didn't have the fundamental. That was my problem at the time.
So then self-education wise, you touched on a little bit before with the property magic and stuff like that. What self-education, have you done?
In total, I
would say that relates back to what,
just for property.
For property,
yeah. So I was obviously now being a board member of a high growth VC backed company. There's lots of management training. So let's just say, lots of corporate management training, self-development, personal development. Until that point, I hadn't really taken a step back to do personal development, which is in my own time. I didn't really have my own time to do it, right? So nowadays.
Yeah, and if you're working away so much and everything.
Since then, obviously, I joined the Property Investors Network. We've done Accelerator Program, the full Mastermind Program, a pin host. I'm on the Next Level Program, which is a graduate program. So there's been something pretty much every year. Yeah. I did Property Entrepreneur, which is another business-based program. Yeah. Which really helped in our year one foundation year of our organization, because it was more about systems and processes and so on and so forth, which really helped with that. And then there's the personal development stuff. So, which is taking time to absorb as much as I can from the people who've gone before. Yeah. Because I don't think there's too much new. I think it's improving what's gone before, right? So I don't want to change I don't want to invent something brand new. I just want to make it better. Yeah. I want to see what's worked and use that.
Which actually is a lot of good businesses, isn't it? A lot of people think to have a really successful business, you got to invent something. Yeah. But in actual fact, the people that do the best are just the ones that, with something they just do a really good job of making it better.
Inventing something brand new is high risk. Yeah. I wasn't in that space.
And potentially costly as well.
Yeah. Because if it doesn't take off, it doesn't take off. Whereas if I just trod a well-trodden path and try and do it better, then I felt that was something that would really, really work.
And then how has this self-education, do you think, really benefited you?
Oh, God. I mean, networking's been the number one thing that's benefited me, because the creation of those networks, but also the belief structure is the mindset and the self-motivation. I was always self-motivated. I mean, sales guy.
So seeing what others,
even within my sales teams,
other people have achieved and how they've gone about things.
Yeah, I mean, even within the sales teams, I'd be first in, last out. You know? So there was always the self-motivation too. I'd always put myself out there as quite self-motivated, but it was the doubt, the mindset part. There's still doubts there, and unblocking that was really key. So stoicism's been a big part of my last couple of years in terms of the learning from the Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and other people who've gone before. The other Stoics who understand life, the Jim Rohns, the Robert Kiyosaki's, from the Rich Dad Poor Dad's, the Art of Exceptional Livings. There's some
just hearing all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't think any of these were mentioned in school, believe it or not. But yeah, they're all
there's nobody from school. There's nobody from the school space that I would refer back to. It's all people who've done great things. Yeah, and I can follow in their footsteps. Yeah. So that's been, I think, as a person, I'm a different person now to I was in 2019.
So you've got mentors. So I think a good way to analyze what you just said there. So you got some direct mentors, say from some of the courses.
Yeah, and coaches. Yeah,
coaches.
Still got a coach.
Simon Zucci's, Dan Hills, people like that, and then direct coaches that you would have various. But then there's also other mentors that they're not a direct coach or like a paid course, but they do mentor you because you soak up their content.
Well, I seek their advice.
You see their advice without them physically talking. Yeah, exactly.
And Jim Rohn's no longer with us, of course. So, he's one of my...
So even by books, audio books, YouTubes, all these sort of things, you can really get mentor and get advice from people that, you're not physically meeting with, which is, it's like...
I actually listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I actually go back and I remember, but you know what it does? It reinforces.
It reminds you of stuff sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it reminds me and reinforces.
Actually, and then when you do a podcast or like say you write a book or something.
I'm not just a narcissist, is that what I'm saying?
Yeah. But what it does is you rethink about the reasons why you do stuff. Yeah. And you gets you thinking about it more, doesn't it? And like
it can remind you what you've done well and things that you said you were going to do.
Yeah. And then you say, you're like, oh, this is how you do it. Oh, shit, we didn't do that in the last project, but we should have, or whatever, or something like that. Yeah, it's really good.
Stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast.
So why did you want to team up with me? And what advice would you give to someone that's looking to say joint venture with someone or team up with someone else or another company?
Yeah, it's a good point. So at the time, we're talking about there's two things that we teamed up on, right?
Yeah.
So the first one was the project.
Yeah.
So I came to you because I had the project and the funds. Yeah. And I didn't have the middle bit and it scared the life out of me. So I felt that the project was big enough to share, even with all of those things. So my thought
and the overall end result could be better.
Yeah. So this was a deliberate action on my part because you were on my program.
Yeah.
And your background was project management. We didn't actually know each other that well at the time.
Yeah. We just sort of getting to know each other, weren't we?
We knew each other a little bit and we'd spent maybe 2 or 3 hours together or something before I said to you, look, let's have a look at this project. And you had already got a couple of other people that you were working with. So my objective at that point was I need to put something together that would be attractive enough for you to warrant to spend your time on it, but also would benefit us both in the long run. Yeah. So I came to you with the project and I said, listen, I've got this project. What do you think? And you analyzed it in your work and you're like, well, it works. And the reason that I, initially I thought we were just going to do 1 or 2 projects, right? So being totally open, I thought we'll just do a couple of projects.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other very well. We're very different personalities. So, but then as part of that program, you're actually then taught differences are important. And that's the first time really that anybody had sat down and gone,
all right. So you're saying initially it was just because I got the project.
Yeah, because you got project to help me with.
Yeah.
I didn't know you for any other reason, really. And I'd never met your family or I didn't even know your wife's name. When we said yes, we'll do the project.
Yeah.
It's just here's a project. It's going to return. We're on this program. It'll help achieve our goals. Shall we do it? Yes.
Yeah.
Or no. And then there was more about wealth dynamics, and when we were looking at it in a little bit more greater detail,
personality.
The personality types were different. But similar values.
Yeah.
And that, in my opinion, was hard to find.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was thinking, well, actually, and we worked on that project, we worked really well together. And I think the thing that you valued that I bring to the table is I know my limits. And even though I will question things, and sometimes I'll say something, you'll go, Phil, no, and I'll just go, yeah, fair enough. At that point, I'll shut up, right? Because I will.
And vice versa, I think. Sometimes.
Yeah, but I will push things and I will ask questions.
Yeah.
Because I think they're important, But at the same time, I'll get out of the way, And I think that works really well.
Yeah.
So as we were working through that project, I was like, this is good. And we were both in the same geography. We're both in Manchester. We're both I'm older than you, but not by a great deal. So we're in the same phase of our lives, even though I've got my children are older and your children are younger. So you needed something as well. Really.
Yeah, as far as getting into a goal to leave jobs and you just left your job, you know, it was that similar sort of mindset, I suppose.
So what I could bring is probably skills that, not that you didn't have as a whole, but just similar to me being able to run a project. It was skills that you would have, but not to the same degree because of the backgrounds that we've both had in different areas.
That's a fair point. We only sort of learned that as we moved through, you know, that project and then more stuff we did and stuff like that, wasn't it? And obviously got to know each other more on the program and a few more beers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Before I quit drinking.
Before you quit drinking.
Yeah. It became really boring. Yeah. And then we were looking at, you know, so what advice would I give to somebody doing a joint venture is why are you doing it? Ultimately, because I really like there's a guy on the circuit. He's also a friend of ours, and we managed to spot his Shimon, and he gives a very good example, which is it's the only time that 2 + 2 should equal 5 if you're doing a joint venture. Yeah. Which is if you can do it yourself and achieve the same result, you shouldn't enter into a joint venture.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas on this, so 2, because if 2 + 2 just equals 4, if both of you would just achieve the same thing on your own by doing the same thing, then you shouldn't do it. So if it had been a 5-bed ensuite HMO, it wouldn't have worked, you know, but it was a bigger project. There was 2 planning applications. There was a commercial conversion. There was all sorts of things going on, right?
Yeah, it was I can't remember exactly, but a couple $100,000 worth of, you know, build works really, wasn't it?
Yeah. So in that case, could I have done that on my own? No. So that 2 + 2 would have equaled 0 because 2 plus nothing would have equaled 0 because nothing.
So you're 5 better off is what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you didn't have the deal.
Yeah.
Or the funds.
Yeah.
So, but together.
Yeah, I suppose theoretically we're both 0 in that second.
Yeah, we were both in zeros, but put it together and we equal 5 because we had 11 income streams at the end of it, which, you know, we can't retire upon. But since then, you know, what have we done together?
Pretty solid base, yeah.
You know, we've done multiple of these things in a quantum for ourselves in our property holding business alone, right? Yeah. If we only did that, at some point we would have, you know, retired each other. But you know, we decided to do something a bit more crazy.
Yes. So then why did you then want to set up property portfolio building as a business and invest multi-let as well? Obviously we do, you know, key turnkey source build managed sites. So what value did you see that you or we could bring to other investors? Why did you want to set it up basically?
It's a well-trodden path, isn't it? You know, so what already exists in the world? Well, if you look at some very successful people in our space, let's use Dan Hill as an example. He had a source and build program and he had a lettings business, right? So I was looking at it going, well, there's lots of other things I can do, but why don't I just do that? Right. So I was thinking, well, we're already sourcing and building. We're not letting yet. And I was umming and ahhing about that part.
That was my biggest hesitance as well, was the letting aspect.
Yeah, but how beneficial has it been?
Yeah, massively.
Both not just for our business, but for our portfolio.
Yeah,
it's been huge, right?
For clients and us, it's massively beneficial. Yeah.
So, and then there was the bit that, you know, I don't think I'll ever retire. And did I just want to be a landlord? And I don't mean that as an offensive thing to people who are just landlords. I don't think that, or are landlords. Ignore the word just, right? So landlord is a business. But I've always had a lot of pleasure from providing great service. Yeah. Right. And I can provide great service to tenants. Of course I can, but it's faceless. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to knock on the door. They're not going to know me from Adam. They're not going to send me birthday cards. You know, not that my clients send me birthday cards, but you know what I mean. Right.
It's using the same teams and everything to build a portfolio, but putting it in a real business that, you know.
Well, that was it. You know, we'd met great people. We could see the livelihoods of these people and see how they operated. And we could see how we could enhance those things. We could see the opportunity in our area. And like I said, as a creator, I've always been able to see. So you refer to it as that when you kept talking to me about this crazy idea. Like, it wasn't just an idea. I'd already thought about it. Beginning to end. I said, well, there's no reason this couldn't work. The bit that I needed to convince you about, which obviously as a sales guy, you probably didn't realize you were being convinced, was the lettings part. Yeah. So it's just about getting through those things, which was, and my way of convincing you is, don't worry about it. You don't have to do anything.
The other thing was, like, you had the idea, but like when I sort of looked at it initially, I'm like, we need a better way to implement this or whatever, like generally how it's going to work. And that's when I started looking at, right, this is how we manage it from a project management perspective. This is how we bring them in, blah, blah, blah. And it was that collaboration that got to sort of how it is now.
Absolutely. And you were leaving a role at the time. You were leaving or you just left your job role.
Yeah.
So you had the time at that point to do something different.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't that you wanted to retire. That wasn't something that you wanted to do. And you could see the light in your eyes when we talked about doing multiple projects, because you love doing it. And when you apply that to, and that's all I look for that's all I ever looked for in people was, do they want to do this?
It was an exciting proposition.
Yeah.
Because one of my debates was like, oh, geez, I'm leaving my job. I got this portfolio.
Yeah.
Initially, you think that you want to retire, and then you very quickly realize that absolutely not. I can't do that, nor do I want to do that.
So the risks that you had at the time were obviously the lettings part, which I just said, listen, don't even worry too much about that. Because I'm from an agency background. I can set that up and run that. And now we have a director in there, which is great. She's great, by the way.
Yeah, really good.
And then it was a case of you had 2 young children. So you wanted to be flexible and be able to do stuff from home.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and I still wanted, a reasonable amount of flexibility to be able to travel at times and stuff like that. But still also, be busy and run a business. So it's
and
that's not an easy thing to do, is it, by the way?
We set it up and systemized it. So that in essence, I said, actually, you wanting to be in Australia for 2 months next year is great because that
it actually forces you to systemize it. Yeah.
Means that we're going to do it because you can't not be here if those systems aren't there.
Yeah.
So it gives us that reason. As well as
get the people and get the systems involved.
Because everyone knows they should be doing something.
Yeah.
But whether they do it or not, sometimes there's got to be reason to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that really gave us that. I think that was one of the things that has really
fast-tracked a lot of things.
If I'm honest, the fact that we were going to have this period of time, we still have it, where either of us aren't going to be here.
Yeah.
The business needs to survive.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that it works really well. Not here.
It's a weird thought pattern, isn't it? It's like, you go away and you're like, it actually ran a lot better than I thought it was. And that's good. What does that mean?
That's good. But have I made myself obsolete? But you're supposed to.
Yeah. As
a founder.
As a business owner and founder, you should be doing that. But it is a weird thought pattern, especially when you come from a job where you're like, you want to prove your relevance, don't you? Whereas it's the opposite thought pattern.
And then we came up with the mission, which is just it just speaks to it speaks to 30-year-old me, which is I wanted to achieve financial freedom. I hadn't even thought about maintaining it. Do you know what I mean?
So because even when
the goal is getting there, you don't realize it was beyond that point is the bigger part of time. Because if you build a portfolio of 5 HMOs, as an example, you might be able to do that in 5 years, but to maintain that freedom is a bit longer.
I very quickly learned that even in like the course and network we're involved in, there were lots of people who got to a quite good goal at the end of it. And then you look at them in a few years later, you're like, why are they actually potentially in a worse position? Or people that have done property for years and, they took their eye off the ball and whatever. And you're like, why are they doing so badly? And generally it just came down to they just weren't managing it right, or that it wasn't being managed for them correctly. And that's affected their financial freedom that they once had.
Yeah, because it's not exciting for them. And we've got business partners, and Louise is one of our business partners. She's your JV partner with you, but she managed some of her properties. I think she's done it really well, by the way, which is she's done a lot of property development to get to a financial goal that she now earns that pays for her life. But then she's gone and done something that she's passionate about.
Yeah.
So she's not doing any more
really good marketing sweet spot. We can give her a bit of a plug, but
if you want marketing,
she really loves that, enjoys that business, and she's training people as well. So
so that's a good way to think about it as well. And it's the ones that sit back and don't do anything that I feel like they're struggling. But yeah. I don't know. I hope I've answered the question.
It does. It kind of leads on to the next one, actually, because I want to know, just to close it out, what are your top tips that you give investors who are looking to make success in, property in the BDRR, buy, develop, rent, refinance space?
The key word is it's the change between refurbish and develop, isn't it? That's the big thing, which is because I'd never even thought about doing development, but I had thought because development to me was a bigger thing. Was I going to do development? So I couldn't see myself as a property developer. But buying something, doing a light refurb and keeping it was something that I could see myself doing. But that's not really available. Like the single let market for that.
Hard to add a lot of value to, isn't it?
Yeah, because you don't get enough value added. And the cost of materials, with COVID, post-COVID, you're almost market rate, so you're not adding a lot of value through that. Yeah. So what we do now is we do it in a big enough quantum that you add value in the development, but then it becomes a development. So you've got a whole new set of regulatory environments that you need to qualify.
So things do cost more, don't they? Because of that. Because of the regulations,
yes, because you're changing the use or your you're
but
doing
because of
something
those reasons, that's also why at the back end, the value is there, because it's not straight. It's not straightforward.
Do you know what? I've seen people like say, "Oh, but what aren't you leveraging the value to?" I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" Because the value is there. Not everybody can do this now, and some people do it really badly, and then they get themselves into a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
and it's not, it's not for the faint-hearted. I wouldn't recommend just setting up. Like, it's not the same today as it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago when you could just put, 4 or 5 doors on and call it a 4-bed HMO, I'm sure they were great days, but that's not it anymore. You know, your property has to be of a high quality, it needs to be well managed, it needs to be to regulation. And those things are more challenging now than they've ever been. And they are developments. Like, you're spending a lot of money. If you're not going to get ensuite rooms in a 5-bed property for less than 100 grand at a good standard, you're not going to do it. So
especially if you want to tick all the boxes, EPC to C, comply with full licensing, building regulations, all these sort of things, and a high quality product. There's lots of challenges.
And a high quality, robust product.
Yeah.
You might be able to get cheaper, but like, what have you done? Because I walked around one last week, and he's a builder, this guy. And it was rubbish. The finish was awful.
Yeah, but he's not an interior designer, is he?
Yeah. No, the finish was awful. The quality was awful. The room spacing was awful.
Yeah.
How it was laid out was awful. It basically just...
Well, then he's not an architect.
Yep.
He's not a property investor.
Nope.
He's not an interior designer.
Exactly.
So to get that blend of that product, there's some of the key people you need.
Yeah, and I was walking around nodding. I've seen some rooms advertised at this rate, and I was like, 3 times better than this one. So you're at a really low level rate here.
And to get to that high level of nice finish, sometimes it does not cost that much more. It's just a bit.
It's thought, and it's
just more thought, more planning. A bit of creativity. Yeah. Absolutely.
So in terms of top tips, the first thing is to get to your strategy as soon as possible. And strategy is not just monetary, it's service. And people don't forget, people say you're going to be set up a property business, and a business has to serve somebody or something, right? Product-based businesses serve someone. They have a customer. So who are you serving? Because if all you're saying is, I just want money, that's not, you're not entering into it in the right way, right? You have to serve someone. So Ikigai is a great book to read about this, about service and trying to answer the questions. Whom do you serve and what do they need? So we serve people probably in a transitional part of their lives who are working professionals and want a very comfortable place to live. But they don't want to have to pay full, terrace or flat-based value plus bills.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it's things like convenience, isn't it? Proximity to employment, work, travel, shops.
Yeah, so we serve working professionals that want all of the home amenities, but are happy to live in a shared accommodation. That's whom we serve. Yeah, absolutely. So, and what do they need? Like you said, convenience, amenity, showers and sometimes kitchenettes and so on and so forth. Yeah. So if you can get that strategy part right, great. Don't just buy a property and then decide on your strategy, because if you get your strategy right, then you know the location, you know where it needs to be. The service accommodation industry is the weirdest one, in my opinion, for this. Somebody will buy a property and say, I'm just going to use it for service accommodation. Yeah, but for who? Oh, it might be for contractors. What do you mean might be? What if there's no contractors that want to work around here? Oh, it's going to be a holiday accommodation, but it's in like the back streets of Manchester. I'm like, well, who's going to stay there? You see these things all the time. People with a HMO in the worst part of town who bought it cheap, spent loads of money on it to get it to a very high standard and spec. Nobody wants to live there. Yeah, it's because of the location. So you've got to get that initial whom do you serve and what do they need question down. Yeah. Because who's going to pay you at the end of it? That's the bit. It's not about the project and the property and even it might not even be the strategy, the HMO or the service accommodation or the single let or the commercial property or it might not be those things. Whom do you serve is the end. Who's going to live there? Yeah, or stay there. Yeah. So that's the bit that I would say is a top tip: is get that bit down. Yeah, and then worry about building everything from there. Right. I think that concludes my round of questions for that. So, love the story. Gives everyone a bit of background of how Phil has got to where he is today. And just to conclude, if you have not subscribed or liked or subscribed this podcast, please do that. Obviously, comments and feedback would be greatly appreciated. And until we do have a designated email address now.
Yeah, it's a
podcast at
invest-prop.co.uk.
That's it.
Drop us a line there, and been good to have you. And until the next one,
Bye for now.
bye for now. Cheers.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.